to another episode of the Creatress of Freedom podcast. I'm Annie. I am your host. I am so happy you're here. Welcome, welcome, welcome if you're new, and welcome back if you're an OG. You know that I love you and I'm so happy that you are here. And today I want to share with you a personal story, actually. I want to talk to you a little bit about power, personal power, and how we can often allow external circumstances to take our power away, or give our power away, essentially. So this was a realization that I had a little while ago, and as I was like come to this realization and come to this understanding, I was like, this makes so much sense. And I felt like I really needed to share with my community around this particular topic because it's something that I don't see talked about much, to be honest, on the online space. And when I see a gap, I like to be the change. I don't want to be what I don't see, right? If I wanted to see more of that, then I get to be that example, right? That's what a leader does. A leader goes first. And so this in particular is around the topic of having challenges within your business, right? Every business is going to experience challenges along the way. Like it's not possible to grow a business without experiencing challenges. It's just going to happen. And so I had something that happened in my business at the end of last year. So depending on when you're listening to this episode, it was like December 20, it was probably like November-ish, 2024. Yeah, I was just like making sure that math was mathing. And the situation was I had a client reach out to me who was in one of my, had just finished in a paid space actually, and had said that her accountant had let her know that there seemed to be some discrepancies with payments and contracts and stuff like that with my business. Anyway, so she was querying about it and just wanted to like follow up on it. And so at this time, had changed the business. So we had rebranded. My company is no longer in Australia. It's a global company. So we rebranded the company. The company has gone global. And there was a minor mistake that happened that was an honest mistake. And it was around the GST. And so the GST component was essentially being charged still to the clients, but my business was no longer claiming GST. And so I had a conversation with my accountant about it because essentially this client was saying that she was entitled to a refund. And so I had a conversation with my accountant about it, and my accountant was like, look, ultimately, you don't have to pay this back. Like you haven't done anything wrong here. What has actually happened is when the company switched over, they should have stopped. So my clients should have stopped claiming the GST component from their end, right? Because they were still registered for GST, whereas I wasn't. Anyway, I was like, look, it's a gray line, and integrity is one of my core values. So it just feels really good for me to just refund people's money, right? Like, not ideal. It was like over 10 grand worth of money that I had to refund, and not an ideal situation, but this is what goes on. This is the reality of business. We are faced with challenges sometimes, and sometimes that's just what we have to deal with, right? It's the polarity. You hear me talk a lot about the polarity in business. We can't have all highs and then not have some lows, right? It's just how it works. You have to accept it all, that they all coexist together. So I had made the decision because I was not informed by my accountant that should have happened. And then I also, the guy that set up my company, he didn't mention it either. So it was just a blind oversight that was completely missed. And I actually didn't know anything about it. But technically, I can charge whatever I want. But the issue was that my clients were claiming the GST component when they shouldn't have been claiming the GST component. That was really what the problem was. So anyway, I was like, you know what? No, it feels like if I was put myself in their shoes, how would I feel? And I was like, no, integrity is my core value, so I'm going to refund the money. So what I then did is I reached out to all the other clients since I had been made aware of this fuck up that I had done on my end, and let them know like what the choices were. Like they could either choose to be refunded, or I was happy to offer them a coaching package where they didn't have to pay for it. Like whatever they wanted to do, I was happy to accommodate. And that was challenging because I had a few, most were pretty good, but I had a couple that were obviously quite upset about it, but had felt like I had deliberately been dishonest and was caught out. And that really hurt me because these women had been in my spaces for over 12 months, like longer than 12 months. And to hear that they thought that I was deliberately trying to rip them off and was trying to get away with it, and the fact that it was only that I got caught out, air quotation marks, that now I'm owning up to it. Like the reality is that I actually didn't have to give anybody's money back, and I could have just did it to the one client that inquired about it and not bothered to reach out to the rest of my clients that were also in the same situation, right? Like I could have just kept that to myself. Like I technically didn't have to give anybody's money back. So like, why would I do that? And so to have, these people come at you, and I felt like my character got attacked is how I felt. I had them like asking for refunds that were actually bonuses that I had thrown in. And like, it felt like it just flew out of control. And I was devastated because integrity is such a core value of mine. And the fact that I went above and beyond to refund money when technically I didn't really have to, and then to have these comments being made, and it wasn't necessarily directed straight to me, but it was going through my team, and then my team were then telling me, and so then my poor team were like having to like say, this is what this person's saying, and they think you're being dishonest, and they think that you're trying to rip them off, and like they're going to now seek legal advice, and they're going to go get a lawyer to go through the contract with a fine-tooth comb and see where else I might have like fucked up along the way. And I just was like, what the fuck is going on right now? Like, oh my gosh. And normally a situation like that wouldn't rattle me, right? Because I just know, like, I've been in business long enough to know that mistakes happen, fuck ups happen. It's not all roses. I've had some shitty like hairdressing clients come through my doors, and I haven't really had any like I haven't had any experiences like this with my coaching clients. So this was a first for me. But like that's okay, because normally like I would just understand that this is me stretching my capacity, and I would just take it with a grain of salt and be like, okay, well, where can I take responsibility, which is what I felt like I had done. I took responsibility and fixed where I could. And I am someone that will very rarely buy into the victim story. I will always like take responsibility if I need to. I will always look at it from all different avenues. I will see how that person might be feeling, and I'll also see where I could do better as well. And so to have these clients who had been with me for a very long time, they knew me, and to have these kinds of things being said about you was like a little bit gut wrenching, to be honest. And like I said, normally that would not bother me. Normally it wouldn't rock me. But at this exact time that this was unfolding, I was also dealing with my grandma who had just been diagnosed with cancer. I was also spreading my grandfather's ashes. I also was having to deal with my family who I was estranged from for like 17 years, and having to see them because we were spreading my grandfather's ashes. I also was trying to plan an in-person event for my clients because this was when I had returned back to Australia. And then on top of all that, I had my visa situation where It was supposed to be submitted once I had left, but she supposedly could not submit it unless I was back in the country. And so my trip had to be finished earlier in Australia, and I had to return back to Greece before my visa expired in order to renew my new one. So I was dealing with time zone differences, chatting with my lawyer, and then, having conversations with my accountant about this entire situation that was happening. And I was at full fucking capacity. It's been a long time since I have felt that dysregulated in my body. Over the years, I've learned all of the tools, all of the strategies, all of the coping new age modalities that I can use to integrate, to come back down, to ground back in, to center myself. It was like I'd forgotten all those things. And in that moment, I was falling apart because I was like, I don't know what the fucking world has come to. And I started to doubt myself. I started to question, was I a bad person? Because I'd had these few comments that were made that normally I said would just like bounce off. But because I was, I guess, in like a fragile state, they kind of penetrated. I didn't have my pink protective bubble around me like I would normally, because there was just so much personal stuff that was going on in my life that I did not know how to juggle all of it. There was so much happening. And then I felt like I just fell apart. And the quickest thing I wanted to do was get out of Australia because I was not coping. I felt, even when I went up to Queensland, I felt like so much was unraveling while I was in Queensland. I also ran into my ex while I was there. And, so like that was like another initiation. There were so many initiations that happened in such a short window that I did not have the capacity to hold it all, right? And as a result of this, yes, this cost me over 10 grand, but it cost me something so much bigger than that. It cost me my power. Because what I did is, this financial situation with my clients, it wasn't even about the money, so to speak. It was more about the way that my clients had reacted and how they thought that I had deliberately deceived them. That was the part that hurt the most. And to have like these clients that you have spent so much time in their personal life, and they've spent so much time in your personal life, and you think that you have this clear understanding of the qualities and the values of this person, and to hear them think that's what I was doing just made me question, do I even want to do coaching anymore? And so I gave my power away to these external circumstances that were happening. And as a result of that, like that then ripples into other areas of your life, right? Like my income dipped a little bit. I started to want to just be on my own, and I obviously needed that because I needed to ground back in. And once I got back to Greece, I then was also in winter and was like spiraling through a little bit of seasonal depression. And I really wanted to be back in Australia as well. And I was also dealing with like more clients and this issue that had arisen. And so much of my power was just like leaking. It was an energy leak that was leaking out of me, and I didn't even know. I didn't even have the awareness around it because I was so caught up in the dysregulation of my body. And so it wasn't until I was having a conversation with a new mentor, and she was talking about different ways that we want to have different growth in our business. And when we want to have different growth in our business, it means that we have to step into a new level of identity, and it means we have to step into a new level of power. So where can I think about different scenarios where I maybe gave my power away? Like, how can I start to call that back? And so that's where this scenario came up. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, I think that scenario really made me question the coaching industry. Did I even want to be a part of it? If this is what clients are like, and this is how mean and nasty they can be when you have like gone above and beyond, and this is how they treat you like this, like, do I even want to do this anymore? And I think that that was where so much of my indecision or reevaluation, let's say, of my business was stemmed from, because I was like, I don't know if I want that, if that's what it's like. But then, the truth is like, now that I'm like on the other side of that, because what didn't happen, and this is a key point for you to remember, what didn't happen is because I was so dysregulated, I didn't create the time and the space to actually feel my feelings. Like, I was fucking hurt by the way that my clients had spoken to me. But I just brushed it off because I didn't have time for it. I was dealing with so much other personal stuff at the time that I was like, oh, well, it is what it is. Like, it says more about them than it does me, and that's okay. Like, I'll just hold compassion, whatever they've got going on in their life. Like, I understand where everyone's at. So I just brushed it off and got on with life. And this was not a good thing. Because this is what I teach in my world, is that when we don't allow ourselves the time and space to actually feel the feelings, we get stuck in the timeline. Right? We get stuck in the timeline, which means that we have like this rubber band that keeps pulling us back. Every time we go to step forward, it keeps pulling us back to this part in the timeline. And we have to go back and visit that part in the timeline and bring her to this moment. So once I had this realization that, oh my God, I've given so much of my power away to this situation, I didn't feel any of my feelings around it. I didn't acknowledge that I was really hurt. I didn't acknowledge that I was sad, that I was upset. I didn't acknowledge that it genuinely hurt my heart. Like, I didn't acknowledge any of that. I just brushed it aside as if, just get on with it, Annie. Like, not a big deal. Like, shit happens all the time in business, right? And so what I did once I realized this is I went through the exercises that I teach inside my spaces, and I went back into that timeline, and I could literally visualize the moments where I was having a meltdown. There was one where I was having a call with my sisters, and I was bawling my eyes out saying, I can't do it. Like, everyone is needing help and no one's asking me how I'm going. And I feel like I'm trying to be so strong for everyone else. And I was just an absolute mess. And then I was like picturing all these things. And so I went back into the timeline through guided meditation, and I visited all those versions of myself, and I let her feel what she was feeling. I gave her that time and space to actually feel angry, to feel upset, to feel whatever it was that she was feeling. And then I called her with me and I said, this time is finished. We don't need to sit in this space anymore. We've evolved. We've felt the feelings. And I was like literally like sobbing as I was doing this exercise, feeling all of the feelings as it was coming up. And then I pulled each of those parts, those versions of me, to myself right now. And I said, we're claiming our power back now. No longer are we letting our external circumstances take our power away. We get to decide how this is moving forward. And so called everything back and stepped into the new timeline. And literally, it was like a phoenix rising on the other side of it. Like, I felt lighter. I also had to put some music on and like shake out some of the leftover energy because it gets stuck in the body. And I had so much stuck in my hips. Like, my hips just wanted to like have a twerk party on their own for like half an hour. I literally was like leaning over the couch and I was like shaking my ass back and forth because I could feel how much was stuck there, right? And from an energetics and a chakra point of view, that's our root chakra. So that's our stability, that's our security. So if you've got stuff that's stuck in your hips, you've got to shake that shit out, right? You've got to get rid of it so that you can unblock the rest of the chakras, because if your base chakra is blocked, everything else is not going to be active, right? So I literally shook as much as I could out of it. And oh my God, did that night I have the best fucking sleep, because I felt like I finally had released all of this like heaviness and this shit. And, I was able to hold compassion for these clients that maybe they were having a bad day. Maybe they I don't know what was going on in their life at this stage. They weren't actually working with me anymore. So, I'm just going to send love to them and I wish them all the best. And, what they said about me actually means nothing about me because I know who I am at the core. I know that I didn't deliberately do it. And I know what I bring to the table. And so there is going to be people along your journey that are going to say things that are going to bring you down. You're going to have challenges. You're going to have obstacles. You're going to have maybe refunds that you have to give. But all of it is so beautiful. It is so beautiful. And so I share this with you today because number one, I want you to know that there is no fucking business out there that does not experience challenges. I mean, I've been in the coaching industry now for since 2018. And this is the first time that I've encountered something like this. So I'm sure that it's going to happen again, right? And that's okay because that also shows me that I'm reaching new levels. And with each new level, there's going to be a new set of challenges and obstacles. And it's okay that that happens. So I hope that this episode today has landed for you to remind you that you're not alone, right? No matter what has gone on in your business, you can claim your power back in this given moment right now if you choose to. You do not have to let anything in the past, any external circumstances that have maybe veered you off path or maybe dimmed your light or maybe made you feel not worthy or maybe made you feel like you are not deserving of the life that you live. No, no, we're scrapping all of that and we are taking our power back, right? Because that is this journey. This journey is going to be full of polarity and we get to decide in every given moment whether we let that take our power away or not. You are strong, you're resilient, you are smart, you know who you are at the core. And somebody else treating you that way says so much more about them than it does you. And so, what we get to do is hold love and compassion for all of those people that may be in whatever part of their journey that they're in. So, if today's episode has landed for you, I would love to hear from you. I'm walking this path with you. And that's why I wanted to share, like a recent challenge from not only a financial aspect, but also from the aspect of like a growth emotionally, mentally, physically as well. And I hope that you can see yourself somewhere in this story, that it empowers you to keep going because you're not meant to be dimmed right now. You're meant to keep fucking soaring, girl. So keep on that path. I'm cheering for you over here. All right. I hope you have the best day. If you are interested in continuing this work together or you want to come into any of my spaces, you will see in the show notes below what is available right now at this present moment. If you want to skip that and you just want to come and shoot me a DM and say, hey, I want to come into your world, these are my goals, then we can 100% have that conversation too. I will see you soon. Bye for now.